Today we're looking at a Yamaha 242 Limited S. This is a 2013 model boat. It has a stick stuck in the jet pump, and we're going to show you how to remove it externally from outside while the boat's on the trailer. Here's a list of what you're going to need to do this job. The wrenches and the sockets are seen below, and the sizes are: first of all, you're going to need an 11mm opened end box end wrench, and then a 10mm socket, an 11mm socket, a 14mm socket, and a 3/8 inch ratchet with an extension on it. Okay, so this is a shot of the back of the boat with the reverse gate in the down position, and this is where we're going to start. We're going to remove the reverse gate first, and one of the things you need to be careful about is that you don't lose the bushings that are attached to the reverse gate. So be very careful as you're removing this that you catch all the parts that come out. Alright, now we're going to remove the other bolt on the right side. Alright, next we're going to remove the steering linkage. So if you will, this is where you use your box end wrench and your socket together. Being careful again, make sure that no bushings, washers, or anything are lost. And you see the plastic bushings on the inside.
Two bushings.
Alright, next we're going to remove the actual jet pump, and you'll use your number 14mm socket and your extension to remove this. These are very long bolts that go way up into the jet pump, so it'll take a few moments to unscrew them and get them out. And there are 4 of them, one in each corner. There's a washer in behind it as well. They are fairly tight, so you will need to break the seal loose on them. That's why the ratchet's handy instead of just a wrench. You always want to be sure you do this in a shop floor where you can catch any bolts that fall on the floor, or nuts, washers. Here's what the bolts look like when they're out. You see the washers on them. Make sure you keep up with those. And he's taking out the third and then the 4th bolt. And this will be the last thing that actually attaches the jet pump to the boat. When you pull the jet pump off, the shaft and the impeller will come out at the same time. Alright, now we're going to go ahead and pull out the last bolt, and then the whole jet pump will come out next.
Just your jet.
Alright, so the jet came out, jet nozzle, now the pump's coming out, and you can see the stick right there on the side as he pulls it out. Hang on, let me get a better view of that. There's your stick, and it was actually on the shaft, and it's in between the housing, so we're going to be removing that stick. There's your stick, and it actually got sucked in there and it got in between the housing. So now we're ready to put it back together, and we're going to slide it back in, make sure that it gets lined up on the inside. Slides right back in just like it came off. Put the outside housing back together and on. No small pieces here. All the small pieces are on the bolts, so there's really not a whole lot to be concerned about when you pull it apart. Seems like a scarier thing than it really is to do. As long as you have the right tools and you can watch where your pieces fall, you're in good shape. Notice he's putting the 4 bolts back in and getting them all started before he actually tightens any of them down, so we make sure that all the threads get started. Make sure it goes up and seats well next to the housing, and start tightening bolts. The whole procedure can be done in 15 minutes, and something you could easily do at the boat ramp if you had to in an emergency situation. It's always good to have the tools available with you just in case you needed them. It's very possible to get something in the jet pump of a jet boat, but it's also much easier to remove something than it is to have to worry about an outdrive getting knocked off on a stern drive, which is always a possibility too when there's debris in the water. So jet pump maintenance is very easy to do. He's tightening each one of them up as he goes by hand before he actually puts the ratchet to them to help seat it down so that it gets seated properly in all 4 corners. All 4 of the bolts are going to be pulled in, and then he'll put the ratchet back on them, get them snugged back down good and tight. Okay, so he's got them all snugged back down, and now he's ready to put the ratchet back on. And this is one of those items we want to go crossways on them, so you make sure that everything's pulled in tight. So he did one corner at the top and now at the bottom corner, then back over to the other side at the bottom, and then back up to the right. Okay, so he's snugging them all down, and this is something with the 3/8 inch ratchet. You don't want to overdo it. If you had a 1/2 inch ratchet, you could definitely over tighten it, strip the bolts out, so don't over tighten them. Torque specs on it, really nice, good and snug, nothing more. Putting the bushings back in. Bushings are what does your steering. Bolt goes through. Put the nut back on. It is a lock nut with a washer, so when you put it back on, tighten it down, get it back into the nylon, and it will hold it in place. Again, use your box end wrench and your ratchet. They're 11 millimeters here. You don't want to over tighten this one. You want to make it so it's got enough that it's into the nylon, gets up onto it snug, but you don't have to torque it down too tight. Put our reverse gate cable back through. Again, making sure that your bushings are in. You do one on the right side and one on the left side. Making sure that you get the threads put in. And after you get those in and the threads started on it, then you'll tighten them back down.
Get it in there.
Eric's done this procedure before, so it's about a 15-minute procedure, but you ought to be able to do it easily in less than 30 minutes. Makes it a lot faster if you've done it once before, but don't be afraid to try this yourself. Just don't drop the washers, bushings, nuts, and you'll be fine. And it's all back together. That's the whole project completed and sticks removed. There was our sticks that came out. That's what it got sucked in. Kept the motor from running RPMs like it should. And you can do this at home yourself. Thank you for coming to Stokley's Marine, and we appreciate your business, and I hope this video has been a service to you. And if you have any questions, here's our phone number. Feel free to give us a call.